Welcome back to the Jared Williams Show. Today we got a special guest, Greg Schoenhorn. How you doing, man?
Bingo. I'm great, man. I'm so excited to be here. I appreciate you having me up to Pensacola.
Yeah, appreciate you coming on. Where are you coming from?
Boca Raton.
Boca Raton, and you are a business broker.
Correct.
But I hear you are a master at all things home service.
I am far from that.
Okay.
Whoever told you that was building me up. It's probably Doug. Shout out Synergy Learning Solutions. There's a good plug for you.
Yeah.
But yeah, I spent 23 years working on Wall Street, so
Yeah.
I have a lot of sales experience. I also ran a sales division for about 11 years.
Nice.
Life took some strange turns. That's okay. My own doing. Took full responsibility for all that.
Yep.
Nothing I'm proud of, but I moved forward. Had to figure out what I wanted to do next. So I'm like, man, anybody in the world can be a coach. Why don't I just start coaching? And then I realized Columbia University, their college, whatever it's called, had a 2-year program. So I went through the certification, and it was all stuff I loved, around the Tony Robbins, the mindset, so much of how to be an active listener, really that kind of stuff. And I loved that. So I had an opportunity. Fred Silberstein, who owns SF&P Advisors, he's actually my college fraternity brother. I met him in 1989. When were you born?
I was 85.
There we
Just
go.
turned 40.
Got it.
Yeah.
So he had recently sold a company called Gold Medal Services up in New Jersey. And Mike Aguilera at the time had started a coaching organization called CEO Warrior.
Yeah.
So I got offered an opportunity to go in, do some sales, and that really took off, and spent about 3 years there. Loved being on stage. I'm a bit of a ham, as everybody who's ever seen me. So I spent really 3 years in sales, watching and learning from some incredibly talented coaches. So I have enough to be dangerous when it comes to helping, whether it's a chuck in a truck or it's that guy who's at 40 million who you're working with the C-suite. So I've got strong opinions on, depending on where businesses are, what they should be focused on.
Yeah.
But I spent those years, and then I had an opportunity to go over after building a pretty large Rolodex. I had the opportunity to go to SF&P, so I packed up my 2 dogs, jumped in the car, moved down from New Jersey to Florida, and went to work for SF&P, and I've been there about 2.5 years now.
2.5 years now. And you've been a part of quite a few transactions.
Yeah, so as a business, we started in 2001. Fred was really, really early to this game. So after graduating, he went to PricewaterhouseCooper, really loved the M&A side, wound up with Blue Dot. I don't know if you know who Blue Dot is. It was like a mishmash conglomerate of a whole bunch of sort of broken HVAC businesses. I think they grew that from like 75 million to 350 million.
Nice.
Eventually, he'd asked the question, where can I go in life? How can I move forward at the company? And they're like, you're not taking my job. He's like, well, would you mind if I leave and start my own firm? And they're like, wow, we can get, take you off the books, 1099 you, works better for us. And January 1, 2001, he started SF&P.
Nice.
So ARS at the time, 04, 06 kind of was the big buyer. So he had part of, dispositions, buying, selling, really both portions of the deals. I think they made 10 acquisitions over a period of time. Fred had sourced 6. The team's grown out. We've now closed 432 transactions.
Nice.
Worth $3.6 billion to our clients.
Nice.
Predominantly HVAC, plumbing, and electric. We've done marketing agencies. We'll have our first roofing deal. Shout out to me. That will be closed within about a week and a half, which is great, with a huge pipeline of roofing, and our phone's always ringing in HVAC, plumbing, and electric, because we have by far the most deal experience that there is.
Cool. So we'll get into like business valuations, how that works, what we can do to make our businesses more valuable, or what we can do before we go to sell to make it easier. I have some other questions I want to ask you too, because I know you talked to me earlier about we did a Zoom call and you were talking about pest control businesses, how they have the highest valuation.
Yeah.
And I want to get into why that is, and maybe some ways to tie those things over. So, but before I do, I got to plug my sponsor up there, PlumbLine. Awesome company. They sponsor this podcast. If you guys have your phones getting answered and you have either you're a truck and a chuck and you're in the crawl space trying to answer your phone and you're missing calls, or you're trying to deal with a customer and answer your phone at the same time, or it's the weekend and you're hanging out with your kids and you would rather just somebody answer those phones and book them at a really high rate, just go check out Plumline. You pay them per booked call, so you don't have to pay for them to answer your phone and take a message. They'll take a message and it's free. It's an awesome service. I know the people very well. I use them in both of my businesses. And for anybody bigger than a chuck in a truck, if your CSR has a doctor appointment or your CSR is off work or whatever, or maybe they're just busy getting tons of calls, go check out Plumline. PlumLineAnswers.org. Tell them you came from the Wealthy Plumber and you get 1 week of free calls. Try them out. See if you like them. If you don't, get rid of them. But you're going to love them.
That's awesome.
This is a good pitch, huh?
That was excellent.
They're
1 week free is pretty great.
It's an awesome business. They're really cool. Yeah. Worth every penny.
Love it.
They just make you money. That's it.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Do love that.
So you've been selling businesses since 2001. What is your primary job duty in SF&P? Is it SF&P advisors?
Correct.
Is that what it is?
SF&P advisors.
Okay.
So I am sales.
Yep.
But really, I consider myself more lead generation, right? Because at the end of the day, we've got 13 employees. So somebody comes to me, they want to kind of know what they're worth. They go through an evaluation process. No, most people can't just call and be like, hey, I want an engagement, and you sign them.
Yeah.
If we've known them for a while or they're well established, we might skip the beginning process, but we really like to stick to the process of, hey, we're going to give everybody a free evaluation.
Yeah.
Typically, you're going to send in all of 2024's P&L and balance sheet, as well as trailing 12 months. You'll schedule a 30, 45-minute interview. And from there, we're looking for add backs. We're looking to understand C-suite. We're looking to understand a bit more about the business, because while it is EBITDA, it's EBITDA plus an A. So add backs are critically important. Fred will always talk famously about Horizon, one of the biggest deals we ever did. We found $7 million in positive add backs for them.
And what creates, like, when you say add backs, like, what do you mean?
What personal expenses are you running through the business? What are one time, hey, we just bought a brand new shop and I outfitted the shop, right? So we spent $500,000 on that. You're not doing that again. So it's a one-time expense. So typically, you know, it may be, I recently had somebody come to me and say, hey, I got 3 employees that are looking for charitable donations. And I said, is it their charities or is it something that promotes the business? He says, it's not business promotion. I'm like, give them money, because it's not, if it's not promoting the business and it's not there, you'll get an add back. So you basically get the money back. Plus we're going to get you 8, 9, 10x on your money. So add backs could work against you. So if you're an owner of a business and you're taking $350,000 a year base salary, somebody buys your business. Well, what's the value of replacing you? It's not $350,000. So you may end up with a negative adjustment based on your salary or some other employees. So there's a whole science. It ain't my area of strength, I can tell you that. That's what we have the other side of the team for.
So who does the valuations initially?
You'll work typically with Ben Schwartz on the teams who I work with. The other salesman, Brian, you'll work with Adam. So we've got a couple of guys that do that on the team. It's 30, 45-minute interview. And then we hop back on Zoom. Hey, here's some things we see in your business we really like. Here's areas we think you don't. Here's what you're worth today. We'll put a multiple total dollar value on it. And then somebody may say, hey, great, that's more than I was expecting. Sell the business. We still may say, hey, pause. There are some clear things within your business that we see from a financial balance sheet perspective. We are not coaches. We're not looking to be anybody's coach. But we could certainly look and say, hey, listen, if you focus on these 2 factors over the next 6 months, we think you can improve EBITDA by $200,000-$300,000. Well, for a really good, call it HVAC plumbing business, it's potentially 8, 9, 10x on $200,000. Would you wait 6 months for an extra, million and change to $2 million? I would.
I would too, definitely.
Yeah.
And is 6 months enough time to go back, add that back in, and then ask for more for your business?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
But you
even if you haven't closed out,
but we wouldn't take you to market. So the only time the clock stops, as I say, like the cab fare, the meter stops. The day you sign an LOI. So I'll share a little bit of what our normal process looks like, if that's okay.
Totally.
Plenty of time. So most people will call, they'll get an evaluation, or for the people that want to sell their business. From there, we'll agree, say, hey, we're going to get you somewhere between 8 and 10 million. That means the person I'm on the phone with only hears 10 million.
Yes.
They don't hear anything else.
That's what I heard just now.
You know, when private equity reaches out to you, there's a real difference because they could say, oh, well, we'll pay you 13 million for your business.
Yeah.
Then they'll torture you for 3 months of due diligence and come back and say, we can pay you 10.
Yeah.
And all you've been thinking about is the money. Most guys go and end up selling the business.
Yeah.
We have not made a living. Fred has not made his reputation at SF&P by saying we're going to get you 8 to 10 and delivering 6.
Yep.
We deliver that 8 to 10. Most times we will deliver better. Our job is to underpromise and overdeliver.
Gotcha.
So then somebody wants to sign an engagement, wants to go to market. It's typically a 6 to 7 month process.
Yep.
It's a lot of work.
Yeah.
What we do is we put everything on the front end. So your first really 2 months you're working with us, we have 2 deliverables for you. One is a financial data deck. So we are doing 80% of the Q of E work that would normally be done at the end. We're going to front load all of that.
Nice.
So we're going to get EBITDA to the penny correct. And again, you know, our CPAs bit of performance pay as well, so they've got to get it right. Second deliverable, confidential information memorandum called a SIM. So it's background on the company. How old are the trucks? What does the C-suite look like? Smaller company can be 15 to 20 pages. Larger company could be 40 to 60 pages.
Gotcha.
So when the client has signed off, because as we always say, this is the client's process, right? I'm a broker. Think of it this way. I'm a real estate broker and your business is a home.
Yeah.
Does that make some sense, right? So we're representing you. We're automatically tied up. We only work on a success fee. So the only way we ever get paid is if we find you a deal, you accept the deal, and you get closed on the deal.
Yep.
We do not find you a deal, zero. You do not owe us a penny. We bet on ourselves. So that would be the first phase of the process, is signing off on the 2 deliverables.
Yep.
As we move to phase 2, we're doing a blind teaser. So HVAC, plumbing, electric, we may have 186 buyers on our list.
Mm-hmm.
They'll get a blind teaser. So company in the Southwest, EBITDA 1 point, whatever the heck it is. That's basically about what they get.
Similar to what you see like on BIZ buy sell or those sites.
Yeah, a little bit. It's close to being pretty similar to that. So they're going to sign the non-disclosure. We typically will get somewhere between 60 and 90 of those back. You're not interviewing them, we are. We're going to talk price expectation, what the owners are potentially looking for. We want to sit somewhere between 6 to 12 buyers on Zoom with you. We want to give you typically 6 or 7 of what you think you're looking for, and then potentially 3 or 4 outsiders that may have a different perspective. Our buyers are all private equity. We can add some family offices in as well, but primarily private equity is going to be who our buyers are. So once we hit that and they sign the non-disclosure and we get, let's call it 10 interviews, we then schedule what we call fireside chats. You're going to hop on Zoom for an hour.
With Dennis Prager?
What's that?
With Dennis Prager?
No, with potential buyers.
Yeah.
So it's speed dating. 20 minutes, they're going to tell you why their platform, why they're the prettiest gal, why you're the prettiest guy, and you're just going to talk from the 30,000 foot level about the business.
Yep.
Spend an hour with 10 different buyers. You might have to do a second one with somebody if they've got follow-up questions and stuff. It does happen.
Yep.
From there, we're going to collect indications of interest, IOIs. We're never going to negotiate those. It's just a price range. Hey, we're thinking 6 to 8, or we're thinking 8 to 10. Helps us sort of eliminate the process. Who may want rolled equity? We can get into that stuff a little bit later. Who may want earnouts, rolled equity? What kind of deal structure they're thinking, or is it flat cash? We try to get ahead of that, right?
Yep.
So if I know I've got somebody that, man, they don't want to stick around, they don't want to roll equity, we're going to lose some potential buyers.
Right.
But they'll know ahead of time and they'll be aware of it in the IOIs will indicate it. From there, Fred likes to say this, hometown dates, right? Who are we inviting to come to Phoenix or coming to Pensacola for management meetings? We're on every single call. We do the pre-call coaching calls where we're telling you what to say, what not to say. If the conversations gets uncomfortable, we're on every call. So we'll typically set up a conference room in a hotel where we can't be seen. They'll fly in, we'll fly in, we're with the owners. Spend about 3 hours, now we're in the weeds. What does your marketing funnel look like? Tell us about your C-suite, performance pay. You're really diving in.
Yep.
After that 3 hours, we'll typically do a couple hours, break bread, go to dinner, have some drinks if people want, no drinks if nobody wants.
Yep.
It's all feel the vibes, right?
Yeah.
From there, we're looking for LOIs, right?
Yep.
So we may say, hey, by this date, we're looking for everybody to present their numbers. From there, we're just going to negotiate. And more times than not, typically the highest bid is typically the one the guy wanted anyway. There are times somebody goes with the second best, sometimes even the third best, and we'll say, hey, you're the third best. They really want you. Here's where the best is. Here's where we need you to be. And then there's a ton of deal points with all of our experience that we know to negotiate all the little things.
Yep.
That's really the third phase. Now you hit the third phase, which is due diligence.
Yeah.
75 to 90 days you've been through it. As Fred likes to say, it's a colonoscopy without anesthesia.
Yeah. Financial colonoscopy.
Right.
Yep.
The good thing is, though, we front loaded a ton of it.
Yeah, that's cool. I like
Right?
that.
We did 80% of the work up front. It's still going to be really hard. It's not easy. It's a grueling 3 months. More times than not, I say this to every business owner, Red Bull's finally kicking in. Focus on your business. Continue to grow your business.
Yeah.
Worst thing you could do is all of a sudden you have a down month.
Yep.
And you fall off a cliff. That's what can stop a deal.
Yep.
As long as we're maintaining or continuing to grow, deal will close, no problem.
Yep. It was a weird experience selling my business because it was like running it and selling it were two different animals. Like running it normally and then running it while selling it.
Mm-hmm.
It was I had to get in a whole different mindset. And it would be hard, like if that process got dragged on for a long time to maintain that, because like how big of a deal it is if like employees leaving, things like that. You probably don't want that,
It's
right?
your baby.
Yeah. And
Right?
so,
It's an emotional thing.
well, I mean, even like you said, what can stop a deal would be you have a down month. Well, what if you lose 2 or 3 employees right away and you're a, 12 guy shop or 15 guy shop?
Yeah.
That's going to freak out your buyers. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
And so you start like, and I remember thinking about my business when we were selling it, and it was like, number one, I got to keep this thing pumping while we're in this process, hopefully pumping better than it was when they gave me that LOI, which we pulled off really well. But we ended up losing an employee during it, and we didn't have any private equity buyers. We sold to a private person, and it freaked them out. They were like, "Why do you leave?" And I'm like, "He's a dude. He wanted to go do something else." Right. Well, we already got his replacement, but we ended up losing one buyer because of that. They actually backed out of the deal. It freaked him out bad enough.
Wow.
And luckily, we had somebody else come right in and take it over and got it sold pretty quick, actually. But
yeah, it's always an interesting conversation because early on, when somebody's looking to sell, they'll be like, "When do we tell our employees?"
Yeah,
which is a really challenging thing, right?
Yeah.
While you're signing non-disclosures, all the buyers are.
Yep.
Never going to be leaked from us.
Yeah.
We can assure you of that. Does it get out there? Sometimes people know I'm selling, and I'm like, everybody thinks everybody's selling.
All the time.
Right. So it's like you're just being hypersensitive at this point in time.
Yep.
Typically you don't tell the employees till after it's closed. Now, if I had a key manager that's been there 15 years and I trusted that manager and he's a critical part of the deal, best to have that person at the table. Yeah. And they're going to want that person at the table. And it could do nothing but help your multiple. It could do nothing but, and then retention. Like if they fall in love with the buyer, in the LOI, we can negotiate. What does his earn out look like going forward? What are his hurdles that he needs to hit to get himself paid more? Yeah. You can end up getting some pretty good buy-in if you've got a couple of managers that if you're big enough, you could bring these guys along for the discovery part of the journey. Yeah. Yeah. That's what we ended up doing is I let my main manager know. And we actually, before I ever decided to sell even. Right. And we kind of walked through that process together. Honestly, it was super helpful. Like anytime I needed anything or the broker needed anything or somebody else needed anything, I could just shoot over a message and say, "Hey, I need this," and I'd get it. Right. It's very nice. I didn't have to go do the digging. But yeah, so if like when somebody's looking at a buyer, like they're getting multiple offers, and you said sometimes they would choose like the third person in line. Why is that? Like an over top dollar? Synergies, belief in, what an Apex does versus a legacy versus somebody else. They just might like their model. They might like the people better. How
Mhm.
hands-on are they? How hands-off are they?
Yeah.
You know, a good buyer is going to say, hey, here's the references of who we've purchased. Why don't you reach out to people?
Yep.
And it becomes comfort, right? You
Yeah.
want to know that what you've worked on, I don't care if it's 3 years or 50 years,
Yep.
right? That your employees are taken care of, that the buyer is going to do the right thing by your employees.
Mhm.
And sometimes you just vibe better with some people than you do others.
Yeah.
And it's not always, more times than not, probably 90+% of the time, just happens to be the highest bidder
Yeah.
and there's a reason for that because they loved you, you loved them,
Yep.
they knew it, the synergies were there.
Yep.
But it's that competitive process that we run that, we're not starting a funnel with 5 buyers.
Yep.
We're starting a funnel with 70, 80, 60 that are signing the NDA.
Yep.
And we're just working that funnel down. And then all of a sudden it's 12. And if we need to add more people to it, we will.
Yep.
So it's as competitive of a process as we can get to
Yeah.
is the end result.
What is the difference between certain equity buyer, private equity buyers? Like you just said, like you've got the Apex I don't even remember what else you said, but is it like, are there private equity that have more hands-on involvement, less hands-on involvement? Like when you say there's a difference, what do you mean?
Again, I'm not on that side of the business, right? I've never owned a business, never sold a business. It's when you meet them, because I'm not on any of those calls either, right? But I imagine when you're selling a business and you're meeting and reputationally, they might say something like, we like to bring in a GM or we like to do this, or
Yeah.
I don't know because I'm not, on the day-to-day on that. That's why I say I'm not necessarily sales. I'm more lead gen because we have a deal team. Right. So when you come on board to us, we assign you an in-house CPA. So everything we do in-house. Then you're working with the CPA and Jake in phase 1. Then you move to phase 2, which is primarily Ryan on our team, who's doing all the legwork. Once you get through that portion of it, you're working with Justin and Ben. And then Fred helps negotiate the LOIs. So you have a lot of hands.
Nice.
And they're on all those meetings. So I don't have a ton of experience of what necessarily, an Apex versus whoever else. I said legacy before, but everybody's got a different vibe. Everybody's got a different feel, and it's who you get warm and fuzzy. Like they get you, you get them, you understand their processes are similar. It makes sense to both of you. You usually know pretty quickly who the front runners are when you meet people. Yeah. And we typically will, when we schedule, let's say we're scheduling 10 Zooms for you, we're probably going to schedule the by far least likely, it's probably going to be your first call. We want you to get used to it. So if you're a buyer out there and you're the dead first call, I just gave you a little secret away.
Dang it.
Right. But it typically is because we want you to have the experience of getting through a call, right? So the least likely buyer typically will be the first that you talk to. Sometimes they end up being the buyer.
Yeah.
But we want to make sure you get the practice and get used to the questions that you're going to be asked and that stuff. But, it comes down to you feel great about their successes that they've had in other purchases and who they're referring you to. You feel really comfortable with, and part of it is, if you're rolling equity, let's say, right, you sell your business for 10 million, let's say you roll 25%.
Yeah.
So you're getting 7.5 million on close. You're rolling 2.5 million into that platform.
Yep.
You better have belief that you're going to whatever 3x or 4x that money in the next, call it 3 to 6 years.
Yep.
Somewhere within that window. So you have to feel really strongly and really comfortable. And it's, I want to stay on. I want to help recruit. I want to continue to drive the business. I've hit a ceiling and I can't seem to break through, to other people. It's a money thing, right? And again, it's always a challenging first conversation with somebody because everybody values money differently.
Yep.
Right? If you live in the middle of nowhere, North Carolina, let's just say, and I'm not ragging on North Carolina, or Alaska.
We can rag on both of those if you want.
No, but what $3 million does for one person is not necessarily what $3 million does for another, no matter where you're located. Right? And how you value the money and what you're looking for, where you are in life. A 20-something-year-old selling a business, it's different than a 70-year-old selling a business.
Yep.
right? The 70-year-old typically doesn't want to stay on.
Right.
So we'll get them a 1-year contract, and typically within 6 months they get phased out, but they need to be there to be a cheerleader, to make sure it's cohesive and that, closing goes well in the first months. They hit the ground running.
Yeah. So if somebody wanted to sell their business, what are some things they can do to prep for it? Let me ask you this first. How many, typically, what are you guys closing? And are you closing real small deals, real big deals, everything and anything?
Great question, right? So we're going to close, let's call it 40 to 45 deals, even though I think it might be 42 to 46. Let's just say 40 to 45 deals this year. Our bread and butter is, think about a size of a business that you know. Most people, what's the first real ceiling you hit? Getting to 5 million is a challenge.
Yep.
And then typically, I've always, and I think I said this on the first call, and I say this all the time. The journey from 0 to 1 million is how hard can I grind it out? How hard am I willing to work?
Yep.
The journey from 1 to 5, I believe, how well do you know your numbers?
Yep.
But once you hit that 3, 4 million, I'm adding general managers. I'm adding ops managers, where I'm adding so many critical, expensive employees.
Yep.
It's hard to maintain 20% or 22%.
Yep. So
they come on somewhere between 4 and 6 million. You get to 12, you kind of start to hit that ceiling. So even if you're at 15%, that's 1.7 of EBITDA. Typically, that's what we see, is that 2 to 2 million EBITDA is what I'll say is our bread and butter, because that's just where most businesses kind of hit and get stuck.
So what's weird to me about that is coming from Alaska to Florida is just the difference in the businesses because of the pay scales of the plumbers. So we did 6 million with 8 plumbers, 8 guys in the field, 3 people in the office.
Right.
And right before we sold, we were right at 2 million EBITDA. And then I come down here and I'll tour a shop down here, and they've got hitting similar EBITDAs with 30 plumbers.
I was going to say 24-ish.
Yeah. 25,
sure.
30 people out in the field. And I'm like, man, that's a vastly different business. They're 2 different animals at that point.
For sure.
And you couldn't take my model that we ran in Alaska and bring it down here. It just
makes total sense.
Nobody would buy anything.
Right.
It's kind of crazy. Is there, are those businesses going to get sold the same? Is it just based on EBITDA?
So, and I want to kind of circle back to the initial question, right?
Yeah.
Around, while that's our bread and butter, everybody knows our highlights, right? We did best, we did Dan Hour, we'll do, let's say at least 5 deals that'll have 10 million EBITDA and more this year. And those will be our poster childs moving forward, right? So there's always the really big ones, but the normal size, what's pretty normal for us is that, call it 1.5, 2 million of EBITDA is more of what we see on a day-to-day than, how many 10 million EBITDA businesses are there left out there?
Not very many.
Right? There's not very many.
Right.
So you would ask what they can do to prepare.
Yeah.
The biggest deficiency in our industry, how many college graduates do we have as business owners?
0.
It's a small number, right? Understanding your P&L and understanding your balance sheet is my single biggest frustration when I worked at a coaching organization. Drove me nuts that wasn't the first thing we were focused on with our clients. Right? How to really read a P&L, how to read a balance sheet, how to understand it. Because, you see Facebook posts, what percent should I be doing this? Well, where are you at? What's your baseline? How do I improve 2% per year across my businesses? Well, money starts from revenue, and then we work our way all the way down these line items to a bottom number. So some of the best run businesses are guys that really early on got to understand their way around. So that way we're making the right profits, we're doing the right thing for the business, and we're continuing to grow it as a profitable, our average, I think, is 15.5, 15.6% is the average of 430 deals.
Oh, really?
Yep.
Wow.
You think about the really, really big ones, it's hard to do 100 and something million and be 20 something percent.
Yeah.
You know how many heads you need for that?
Yeah.
And critical managers, it's a lot.
Yep.
So I say to people, you want to be lean, you want to be profitable,
Yep.
You just want to leave enough meat on the bone to entice a buyer.
Mhm.
That's for sure. You want your numbers in order,
Yep.
right? You want good, clean looking data for a couple of years. The most important thing to me, your C-suite. How good are your critical managers? How long have they been with you?
Yep.
Right? If you give me two $20 million businesses and my 5 critical managers all been with me a year and a half, and another business, they've all been with me for 5 to 10, which one's getting the higher multiple? It's pretty
Yep.
obvious.
Yep.
And if they've been with you that long, odds are some of them are sitting at the table with you.
Right.
Makes your business that much more attractive. Why has there been turnover in your business? Why all of your critical managers are so young for, 10 or 15-year-old business? Those draw some red flags. So really
Yep.
getting your numbers clean, organized, having a great organizational chart, understanding your C-suite and having a strong team. An owner's going to be expected to do what an owner was doing when you sold the business. So if you're in it day to day, you're probably going to be expected to be in it day to day.
Yep.
If you're coming on Mondays to be a cheerleader and you come in on Fridays to, flip burgers for everybody at lunch, that's what they're pretty much going to expect you to do.
Yep.
That makes some sense?
Yeah.
Love it.
Totally. So then, how important is like the market you're in? There was one other thing I was going to ask you, but you can start with market, and I'll think of it.
So market is to a decent sized degree, it's important,
Mhm.
right? I mean, if we're in the middle of nowhere, Arizona, and there's 10,000, 20,000 people in our town,
Yep.
and our surrounding area is 60,000, and that's the max, and you're doing, 10 million in revenue, you've probably replaced everybody's system,
Right.
right? So somebody might want that arm, but you're not going to get the same multiple somebody would in, say, Phoenix proper or Orlando proper. So geographically, it matters. At this point, California is by far the most challenging state to sell a business in.
Why is that?
It's the most litigious state. And I know that there's, it's overtime is a challenge, how we handle that stuff, payrolls. So, you can go follow HR guy on
Mhm.
his stuff and
Yep.
see what he posts, but Ian's great at that stuff. Plugging him, and I don't think I've ever spoken to you. Hi, feel free to call me. So it's a litigious state. It's a tough state to run a business in. Taxes are extraordinarily high. So the buyer pool has become limited.
Small.
So we don't have as many buyers for that as, you give me an equal California versus a Washington business, I'll get a higher multiple for the Washington business all day long.
Interesting. So is there like a best state then? California is the worst?
I'm not saying it's the worst.
I
Depends
mean,
on where you're located. It's a challenge.
Sure.
It's a
It's a
challenging.
challenge.
It's a challenging state.
Is-
It's any of the big markets, right?
Mhm.
The more population you have, the more opportunity that there is. The challenges a lot of buyers have, they're there already. So what new
Right.
buyers want to be in? You look at, Manassas, Virginia. Name somebody in there that's not private equity. It's pretty hard to find, right? At one point, I was looking around at Tampa for a great example.
Right.
Name a business that does 20 million plus that's not owned by private equity. It's hard to find. It's a
Yeah.
needle in a haystack. So there's up and comers, but if you're doing 30, 40 million, you've probably been bought in that area already, would be my best guess because I've tried and done the research.
Yeah.
So location matters. But again, it's the age of the business. Maintenance agreements do matter. Your C-suite matters. But there's a consistency between multiples. We continue to still see 9, 10x continually for million and change EBITDA businesses, which is great. The
Yeah.
market is still as strong as it was. I don't see that changing. I think the next sort of gold rush, what Fred likes to say is it's who's going to go public,
Yeah.
right? Whether it's an Apex or a Wrench or I don't know who it will be,
Yep.
but that will probably be the next big gold rush of multiples will rise when that takes place. And, just listening to Fred thinks within a couple of years that probably
Really?
happens potentially. Yep.
That's kind of crazy, isn't it? So what happens after that? I mean, so we've got all these private equity platforms. One goes public. Then what?
Well, as a seller,
Yeah.
so a publicly traded will have very different laws than a private equity group,
Mm-hmm.
right? So there will be positives to that from regulations and the stringency of government oversight
Mm-hmm.
versus not, which would be a PE owner. So there will be benefits and there will be negatives, and it'll be interesting to see how that plays out when somebody is public and they're coming to you and they're going to have exponentially more money
Yeah.
to fund, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
But it's pretty amazing what's happened since kind of 2015. So a 10-year, we're now looking at, I think Apex might be the biggest at
Mm-hmm.
350, 400 million of EBITDA.
Mm-hmm.
It's crazy.
That
I'm
is crazy.
guessing. I could be wrong. No lawsuits. Just guessing. But I think that will be kind of the next windfall that we'll see where multiples will rise once that happens.
So who owns these private equity groups? Like who's going and starting these traditionally? Like are these people coming all the way from the bottom of the trades? They've been in the trades, they own businesses, they sold businesses.
Private equity is Wall Street.
Yeah.
It's Wall Street. It's just it's guys that left Goldman, it's guys that left JP Morgan,
And they just
start their own funds, and somehow, some way they found their way to the trades.
to the trades.
And it's become a really hot commodity to own. It's recurring revenue.
Mhm.
Anybody could put, really smart math people could put numbers and say, here's the amount of opportunity of the
Mhm.
area they live in. Here's our maintenance agreements. If we grow and scale, to them, it's numbers. The question is, can they then help and run a business? And can they do that successfully?
Yep.
So we're constantly getting, I'm not going to say bombarded, but we're constantly getting bombarded by new PE that wants to get into the space, that's trying to start. There will still be platforms that'll be created. I think there's 50 something of them now that are real platforms. We created 19 of them off deals that we did. So out of, call it 55, it might be 58. 19 of those were done off deals that we did at SF&P.
Nice.
It's pretty impressive. Yeah.
Yeah, that is impressive. So tell me about your days with, let's go back in the past here, because you started out. What were you doing before CEO Warrior?
I worked on Wall Street. So I worked in the fixed income division of a couple of different banks. So I was doing all institutional sales.
Did you love it?
Loved it. It was a great life, great lifestyle. It's hard work, right? But my clients were not mom and dad.
Right.
My clients were the actual asset managers, right? So if you have money in the bank at Chase or JP Morgan, that was my client in Columbus, Ohio, right?
Mhm.
So whether they're buying money market fund bonds or they're buying 20-year, 5-year, 30-year. So my clients were all institutionally backed.
Gotcha. And then how did you get linked up with CEO Warrior?
So Fred had sold Gold Medal, and I knew Fred since 1989. When Gold Medal sold, Fred's like, hey, it's a great opportunity. They're starting CEO Warrior. You should interview with Mike. I interviewed with Mike, got a job, started the next day, basically. Well, it's not true. I got hired on a Friday. He gave me 20 hours of homework to do before I came in on Monday. It was like a full test, and I loved it. I was watching videos, learning. I know what a Phillips head is. I know what a flathead is. It's about where my skill set ends, right? So learning all of this different language, learning it's different personalities, different people. I mean, this is how I've dressed my whole life. Like I came in and you're like, you're going to be the most overdressed person ever in the podcast. And I'm like, I was thinking about putting a quarter zip on, but this is how I'm comfortable, right? If I go to dinner with my girlfriend on a Friday night, odds are I'm wearing a sport coat. It's just what I've always worn. It's my uniform. It's what I'm comfortable in. So I'd gotten the job at CEO Warrior. I'd started in sales, started on a Monday. They said, let's give it till Friday before we put you on the phone. And I'm like, by Wednesday, I'm like, let me make calls. Thursday, I had my first sale and was off and running. And then eventually learning what they were teaching on stage, sitting in every coaching call. Like I said, some amazing coaches at Warrior, learning from guys that have owned businesses, that were general managers, that have been in the trenches, and we'd put on events. We'd do 4-day events. People were showing up to the building at 8 in the morning and leaving at midnight. So we were doing fire walks. We were doing some crazy stuff. But I'd sit in there for 10 hours and watch everything they're teaching on stage, eventually to the point I got on stage, right? I would teach some of the mindset stuff. I would talk about, some of the processes that we were teaching. Nobody reinventing the wheel. Right? I mean, it's...
The CEO Warrior, that was like one of the first
Yeah.
coaching programs.
Yeah. So Mike and Rob were part of the Nexstar group, and they had left Nexstar and basically started CEO Warrior.
Yeah. I remember seeing that come around when I was, I think I was still an apprentice, but I remember I was getting involved in like Roundtable Facebook group.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember seeing CEO Warrior and thinking, like, it was one of the first times I'd ever been introduced to like the idea that you could have a plumbing business or an HVAC business that could actually make a ton of money. I was like, interesting. It's got my, like, CEO Warrior, seeing it on Facebook,
Yeah.
got my whole brain spinning in that direction.
Yeah.
Kind of crazy.
So Mike Aguilera, who owned it with his partner Rob, they'd sold it. So we represented them in the sale of their business. He went on to he's coaching now at Food Dog.
Yeah.
One of the greatest visionaries, but really a guy that loves mindset, loves teaching that stuff. He's an extraordinary, smart human being, to say the least.
So how
But
long?
it was great to learn from him.
Yeah. I've read a lot of his books. Yeah.
Yep.
Good books. How long did you work as CEO Warrior?
3 full years.
3 full years.
Yep.
And were you there when they sold, or were you working? Gotcha.
It happened. I started in August and they sold in December.
And did they sell to private equity?
They sold to private equity.
Is that just like a way to get more deals?
It's recurring revenue.
Just recurring
So
revenue.
I would assume that, yeah, they potentially might have wanted others, but it's a business that sold monthly recurring revenue, right?
Yeah.
It's no different than, to a degree, what you're working on and what you're building on the other side. How many members do you have? What is your recurring revenue? How long does a typical contract last?
Yep.
We were doing 3-year agreements there,
Mm-hmm.
right? So client would sign an engagement with us. They were working with us for the next 3 years.
Yeah.
So you knew what the recurring revenue looked like. No different than a home service business.
Does that create a stronger multiple if you've got strong recurring revenue?
Recurring revenue's really important part of the plot, right? How many memberships have you sold? What does that look like? Some business owners are called, well, we haven't sold many memberships, so it's a great opportunity for the buyer. And I'm like, but they're not going to view it that way. They're going to want to know why you're not selling it. They're going to want to understand where in your business that process is broken.
Yep.
You've been around for 10 years. You have 140 maintenance agreements. You should have 1,000 of them, right?
Yep.
So it becomes a question of what you're doing internally, because it must not be that great of a business if you're not selling maintenance agreements.
Right.
But recurring revenue is important.
Interesting. So you told me about the, pest control.
Yeah.
They have the highest multiples. What kind of multiples are you seeing out of pest control?
12 to 15x.
And is that just because most of their revenue is recurring?
It's all recurring,
Mm-hmm.
and it's humans and poison. What else is there?
Yeah.
Right?
Simple.
Not much else to it.
And sticky.
Right. It's
Yeah.
very, very sticky. So, and commercial doesn't matter versus residential,
Mm-hmm.
which I'm happy to get into on why there's a big difference, right?
Yeah.
Between where commercial is in our industry versus, say, residential. But in pest, it doesn't make a difference. Contracts are contracts, right? So, but again, it's just, like I said, it's poison in people.
Yeah.
Right? So your margins are 70%,
Yeah.
80%.
Yeah.
Right? It's what we need to pay our crews to go out. They spray for an hour or two, and they're done.
Yeah.
And show up however often they show up, which is probably pretty often.
So it'd be really attractive to go start a pest control business, but I imagine that's a pretty tough business to start.
Yeah, I don't know the stats, right? Like, as a salesman, right, I'm always thinking about where do I want to focus my time, what I want to do. I focus a lot of my time on roofing.
Mm-hmm.
I just think they're kind of in the stone ages.
Yep.
Not all business owners are, so I don't want to get that disinformation out there, right?
Yeah.
But there are guys that have called, I'm doing 20-something million, and I'm like, send me your P&L and balance sheet. Well, I don't really have that. Do you have an accountant? I got a local guy. I'm like, all right, what about, general manager? Well, we've got a couple guys in the office. I'm like, and they're running $20 million businesses. You're not going to find a $10 or $15 million business that's HVAC, plumbing, or electric that doesn't have a really good idea of kind of what they're doing.
Yep.
Right? So it's very,
like
it's a
Wild
different
West,
vertical, but like garage doors was sort of where I was headed. Take a guess, what % of garage door businesses do 10 million or more as of today?
Small. I'd imagine it's
Throw a
tiny.
number at me.
2%.
Around 5 to 6%.
5 to 6% of all the garage door businesses.
All the garage door businesses. So that's probably, I would think, the hardest,
Yeah.
right? I don't know where pest quite falls from those number games, but I've seen plenty of large 40, 50, $60 million pest businesses. I see a ton of, I've been doing roofing a year and a half and I'm at 15 million or I'm at 20 million. You don't see that in HVAC, plumbing, electric.
Yep. And that's just because of the big tickets. Yeah.
It's big tickets.
Yep.
And depending on where you are, it could be storm related.
Yep.
It's insurance. You know, there's not a massive barrier to entry
Yep.
the way that opening an HVAC, plumbing, or electric may be.
Skilled labor, but not licensed skilled labor.
It's 1099. Your bottom line looks a little bit better.
Mm-hmm.
It's an interesting conversation always to have because, you know, why does PE care so much about roofing? And they do, but it's like, but all of your crews are 1099. And, you know, you can have a $20, $30 million business with maybe 8 W-2 or 10 W-2 employees only.
Yeah.
You know, you got a general manager, some people answering the phones, and some project managers. Other than that, your crews are 1099. It's crazy.
You could totally do that down here easily.
Yeah.
Between the storms, the insurance company requirements, and then you could W-2, like, I don't know where they come from, but they're not from America. They're Haitians or I don't know.
Well, that does
Mexico or somewhere.
But, so, you know, and I don't want to sit and talk about roofing because it's not really the vertical, but you want to make sure your contracts are papered, that they're going to LLCs, that you're not hiring individuals. There are some critical steps when it comes to roofing about what makes some much better than other. But you don't see it. And you are seeing kind of a shift in roofing where some companies are doing full W-2s. Their bottom line might not look the same as others, but their multiples they're getting higher multiples and will get higher multiples for their businesses.
Why is that?
Because it's all W-2.
Why does that matter to the buyer?
Because they're all W-2. You can control your workforce and your labor versus 1099.
Yeah.
I mean,
you got somebody else's truck going out. Somebody else's
how many other people are they doing work for?
Yeah.
You know, how busy are you keeping them? Are they doing, you know, you're keeping 8 crews busy, but if you get super busy, you're pulling in 4 extra crews that might be doing work for somebody else.
Yep.
Versus these are my dedicated crews. You always know who's going out, who's doing the work. It's different.
Yeah. How many pressure washing companies you ever sold?
Let me think. Zero.
That's right. I'll give you one to sell here in like 10 years.
Sounds great. Love it. Can't wait for that.
I don't know why I got into pressure washing. I still kick myself in the foot sometimes.
So what's that journey been like? Right? Like scaling that to, I don't even know where you are at today, but like what has been the big challenge of going from HVAC, you know, plumbing, electric to what you're doing in power washing? I'm sure there's a lot of strategies around yard signs and maintenance and some of these things that you brought that's probably revolutionizing.
So I looked at the pressure washing industry and there were some people doing it kind of well. And I thought, man, if they just applied some of these same strategies as plumbing and HVAC, they could probably do a lot better. And so when I came into it, I thought, that's what I'm going to do. And so we just started in January. So we're, 8 months in. And it's funny because nobody markets. So we've been able to get to like 4 guys out in the field pretty quickly just through brand awareness marketing for the most part.
Right.
Very little lead gen even. That's one area that's proven to be difficult, the lead generation.
Yep.
Because I don't think people are used to actually going and looking for a pressure washer around here. Because when you go to Google, you got 170 choices of 5-star pressure washers. It's not like you're going to Google and you get to choose between 5 or 6 1,000-star.
But there are
washers,
opportunities right around, I would assume commercial, right? Like a gas station wants your crew there between 2 a.m. and 3 a.m. to clean up the parking lots and stuff. And, you know, there may be fleets. I don't know if you're doing that work.
So the weird part about that is that's what everybody wants.
Okay.
And everybody's leaving the residential market just to hell.
Interesting.
So there's a big opportunity that I see in the residential market with customers who just want somebody to answer their phone, show up when they say they're going to show up,
Right.
do the work well, bill them. The price isn't even that big of an issue. And then follow up with them and make sure they're happy, right?
Are you selling maintenance agreements?
So we haven't been selling. We're putting them together now,
Okay.
and that's been another little bit of a little bit of a learning curve. The efficiency is what got me. So I went from being I've coached tons of plumbing businesses, and it's like you got to be $400 to $700 an hour, regardless, no matter where you are in the world.
Right.
Like more expensive market, you're going to be more expensive. Come down here to Florida, you could be a little bit cheaper. If you're pricing on margin, maybe your labor's a little bit cheaper, but you're making it up for it with material markups.
Right.
So you're expensive. And that's because all your visits are relatively short, especially in plumbing.
Mm-hmm.
Pressure washing, we sell 3/4 of a day all the time, or a full day or multi-day all the time. We actually don't have any really small jobs.
Right.
So our efficiency it's way better.
80%.
I mean, we could run it
Is it
100%.
like equivalent to like an install essentially? So it's 97%.
Yeah, I mean, depending on obviously, like depending on how many hours you put on your stuff in your price book
Right.
and all that kind of stuff. So learning all that's been a little bit of a learning curve. It freaks me out when I look at my price still today, like our hourly rate. I'm like, this is way too low. It's never going to work, but it does.
Right.
So it's been a little bit of a learning curve to figure that out, figure out the efficiency, and then really because your efficiency is so good, you can actually keep prices relatively low and conversion rates really high, which I think is going to be the name of the game. So now that we've kind of figured that out and we've been selling all just up front, we're at about $1,000 average ticket just selling one-off pressure washing services. And I was like, well, I would like to get that average ticket up higher.
Okay.
But it's been tough to get people to commit to more than $1,000 on average of just, I wasn't thinking about paying, I was thinking about spending a couple $100 getting my house washed. And now you want me to pay you $1,500 to get my house, driveway, roof, windows, pool deck, pool screen,
Right.
fence, the whole 9 yards. So we're putting together some maintenance plans where we can go out quarterly
Makes
and attack
sense.
these things, and they can pay monthly.
Are you offering financing?
We do.
What percent? Probably low.
Very,
right?
very low,
Yeah.
super low. It's been a tough one to get financed, mainly because we don't have any financing partners that will
Interesting.
work with pressure washers that also integrate with Service Titan. So
Okay.
we're the only wash company on Service Titan, I'm pretty sure. And so none of the finance companies that integrate with Service Titan will work with washing companies because historically they're just real small.
So everybody watching, if you know somebody that might be able to help with financing for that area,
There you
make
go.
sure you share this video. You hit this exact moment, you tag somebody, they can get themselves a new industry,
There you
work
go.
into it, right?
Yeah.
So
So those have been kind of the things, but I think, I just planned it out. I was just setting up our memberships before you came in, and I think we can get close to a $1,700 to $2,000 average ticket just through our maintenance plans
got it.
and selling those.
That's great.
And
It
they're
makes sense.
And they're actually fairly affordable.
You touched on something, around the average ticket of plumbing and stuff. So I think what we've seen, call it 2015 to 22,
Mm-hmm.
tons of HVAC companies sold, right?
Yeah.
I think the last year and change, there's been a pretty decent run on plumbing,
Mhm.
and you've seen like electrical only, still the redheaded stepchild, right? So
Mhm.
you're looking at 5, 6, maybe 7x. And I'm not talking about 4 million, 10 million of EBITDA.
Mhm.
I'm talking a million and change of EBITDA, right?
Yep.
Plumbing was kind of that. Now plumbing shifted to still get, now it gets 8, 9, 10x.
Yep.
And the reason is, well, if I do 20 million in HVAC, I might only need X amount of clients.
Yep.
But to do 20 million in plumbing, I need 4 times the amount. So they want larger
Yeah.
databases,
Yep.
right? So now plumbing for the last couple of years has become pretty hot
Yeah.
because they want additive services. They
Yep.
want larger databases. They want to be able to add to what they already have.
Yep.
What's the best way to sell more maintenance agreements? Well, let's get another
More.
40,000 people into our database.
Yeah. More people. Yep.
So it's been a pretty good run for plumbing.
That's one thing I never understood about HVAC was it seemed like all the HVAC companies, they're just interested in selling boxes. And the way we ran our company in Alaska, we That's like the last thing we sold them was a box. We sold them a few years of maintenance, and then we sold them a box.
So what's happened in the last year,
Mm-hmm.
because I did not hear this in my first year and a half, 80-20 kind of was where people were. 80% replacement, 20 service.
Mm-hmm.
I will get you a higher multiple if you're 70-30 than 80-20. Means you're better at doing maintenance. You're better,
Yeah.
you've got better systems and processes.
Yep.
I don't think somebody gets to 60-40, but 70-30, somewhere in that range is becoming more valuable. So they're really drilling down into
Yep.
where's the revenue driving? What are we
Yeah.
doing in pure replacement versus service work? And all things being equal, if you're 70-30 versus 80-20, you'll probably get a higher multiple for 70-30.
Yeah. I bet we were like 80% service.
Wow.
That was including our plumbing though.
Wow.
So 20% of revenue is probably replacements. It's a little different up there though. Like down here, you got boxes. They're going out every 10 years, 10
Right.
to 15 years, especially the closer you get to the salt water.
Right.
Up there, we had like hydronic boilers that are lasting 15 to 20 years.
Right.
But we can sit there and do maintenance on them and do upgrades to them and make quite a bit of money
Right.
going in and upgrading, and then a few years later going in and replacing. But yeah, how often do you run into like selling a company? I know like Northeastern, they've got a lot of oil hydronic heating.
Yep. All the time.
Yeah.
Yeah. Massachusetts, Maine, especially, you run into companies that it's different, sitting down and doing coaching with a guy that's in, New Jersey versus Massachusetts. Well, we've got boilers. We've got something completely different up in Mass, and you're dealing with different kinds of replacement, different service work.
Yeah.
It's challenging, and a good coach would know the difference.
Yeah.
Not me, but
it's enough
to be dangerous.
Yeah. It's a much more complicated system. I know
Yes.
that. Yeah.
Yeah.
The quality of a technician to send to a hydronic boiler system, I feel, is much higher than coming to like a typical HVAC unit.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And the other thing we touched on, and I wanted to make sure we at least talked, was a bit of the commercial versus residential, right? So if you want to buy 10 million of EBITDA, I mean, right now, Hoffman is the biggest bear in the world, right? 200 and something million in revenue. From there, Peterman's probably the second biggest. Let's just call it 100 million, 120 million in revenue. After that, there are some between 50 and 100. Well, I can go to any major city and hit $100 million commercial business. So the big shift from the buyers is like, where 5 years ago they didn't even want commercial. Now we're seeing more and more commercial deals.
From the same buyers?
Yeah, it's other sides of the platform, same buyers, and other buyers have stepped in as well. So like this year, I was on the phone with somebody yesterday, and I'm like, what's really interesting, we've closed 20, we have 12 more under LOI right now. So that's 32. I think it's 22 different buyers. That's crazy.
Yeah.
That's a lot of different buyers, but we've got a bunch of commercial as well. We've got some roofing mixed in there as well, so it does skew the numbers a little bit. But where it used to be maybe 3, 4x on commercial, we're now seeing 5, 6, 7x. We've seen an improvement because these guys want to buy EBITDA. Well, if you want 5 or 10 million of EBITDA, commercial is where it's at now.
Yeah.
So it's become hot. The interesting thing is always, well, I own a business that's doing, 40 million in commercial and 20 million in residential.
Yeah.
There aren't many buyers left
that
want both.
Yeah.
I'm going through that with somebody where we've spent a year and a half now dividing up the businesses.
Yeah.
And we're going to sell commercial separately from residential. And you can't have any overlap. Put a chain link fence in your building, just completely separate. We can find a buyer, but the sum of the parts is probably worth more. You might net out more by selling commercial separately than selling residential separately.
Interesting.
Yeah. And it depends on, if somebody comes to me and says, hey, we're doing 10 million, 2 million's commercial, 8 million's residential, no problem. We could sell the business, but we're going to give you a blended multiple. So when we do an evaluation, we'll say on your 8 million, let's just say that's at 15%, right? So that's 8 for 1.2 of EBITDA. And then on the other 2 million, you're 10%, so 200. So on your 200 of EBITDA, we're going to say 4 to 5x. And on the other 1.2, we're going to say 8 to 10x. Let's just for conversation.
Yep.
So blended combined, you might end up at 7.2. I don't know the math.
Right.
But you understand what I mean, right?
Yeah.
So you could sell it, then it goes into customer concentration.
Yeah.
Right. So there's pure residential, which is I'm selling to mom and dad, right? New construction, if you're doing it, stop today. Stop. I'm not going to say worthless, but just stop. But then it matters, are you doing general contracting work? Are you dealing with property managers? Is it pure residential versus non? And then it becomes, well, I live in a place where I have 30 different property managers that we're dealing with.
Yep.
Do any of them make up more than 10% of your business?
Mm-hmm.
Yes. That's not good.
No.
Right. So we're this is how you evaluate businesses. So when you talk about commercial, it comes down to customer concentration as well.
Mm-hmm.
You really don't want to be above 10% with anybody. 15 is kind of what I'll say will be the max, but we really don't want to see more than 10% from any single client at all.
Man, in Alaska, there was a lot of the mechanical contractors, and they would solely work for military contracts.
Yep. We still see a lot of that out in Montana. You see it in North Carolina. I'll have guys reach out to me. I'm at $8 million in revenue. I've got an opportunity to do a whole bunch of Air Force bases. I can replace all the roofs and that stuff. Should we do the work or not?
Yeah.
It's challenging conversations, right?
Yeah.
You should do work if it's profitable.
Yeah.
But it doesn't necessarily translate to what you'll get in your EBITDA and what the multiple will look like, especially if it's one-time jobs versus say, hey, we can replace all these units, or we can do the plumbing. Are we doing maintenance work, or are we doing construction work, right?
Mm-hmm.
It becomes hard. And as a business owner, 0 to $1 million, pretty much take whatever work you can get, right?
Yep. Do it all. Yeah.
Whatever it is to do.
Well, as long as it's profitable. Yeah.
Right.
Or pays the bills and something else is profitable.
Right.
Yeah.
But I've met business owners that, 15 million, it's all commercial work, and the owner's not making any money, and everybody else at the company's making a fortune.
Yeah. And what does that sell for? Nothing.
It's not great. If you're, let's call it a $20 million business at 5%, it's not great. Right.
Yeah.
You're not getting what you should get for your business. If you were a 15% business.
Yeah.
And it's in commercial space, it can be challenging. Or if you're doing construction or any of that work, profitability is just a race to the bottom line more often than not.
Yeah. Terrible. Sounds horrible to me.
Yeah, it's not great.
So I came up in the plumbing field in the commercial world, and I remember hearing, I would get, once I started running jobs and stuff, and I would see the dollar amounts and the budgets, and I would see the bottom line profits on those things. And I mean, we were hitting 2-3% sometimes to get these jobs. And I'm like,
what are we doing?
Why?
Right.
I got to go do millions of dollars to make a few $100,000.
Right.
No thanks.
So I'm curious, right? So your normal avatar is probably somewhere between chucking a truck and 5 million, I would assume, right?
Our normal avatar is probably guy just started out.
Okay.
We're definitely lower in that to maybe they're doing a couple million.
Got it.
That's it.
And what are typically, so for people watching, they come work with Wealthy Plumber, typically what are some of the onboarding? What are the challenges they're facing that you're helping them work through at the beginning?
Everything. Should I stop doing new construction? Should I do commercial? Should I do residential service? So we point everybody towards residential service because it's easier to get paid and make money and be profitable. But then they don't know, how to price themselves, how to read their P&L. They don't know what a P&L is. They don't know what a balance sheet is.
Yeah.
They don't understand cash flow. They're coming in and they don't know, all the basics of just flat rate. Let me give this person a price up front, and how do I come up with that price? And what is a price book? And how do I structure it? And how do I give options? And what does the sales process in the home look like? What should the call script when they call the CSR look like? How do we schedule the work?
So really all just the bottom line systems and
It's
processes of how to start an organization. That's great.
you basically come in and learn the basics, and we could probably get you to, I've my business in Alaska only did 6 million, so I could get you to there. It was kind of a cool opportunity that I had in Alaska because we were in a small market, 60,000 homes, and then nothing for 350 miles.
Right. Wow.
And there was only one other market 350 miles away. And so we soaked up a good majority of the market up there, and we did it really fast. And once we got there, I moved here. So I ran it remotely for
Yeah,
2.5
I remember you
years.
telling me this. Yep.
And so it forced me to like look at the data and then have a meeting with my GM and listen to what's going on, from his side of the story, and look at the data and say, okay, we need to make this change or this decision,
Yep.
or we need to do this differently. And then he'll go implement the data or the whatever we said to do. And then I'll go pull the data again and look at the data and see if the data points got better. So it was a really good skill set that I got to learn. Forced me to like really understand the numbers, efficiency, the whole 9 yards. And so we were able to grow the business. And before I sold it that year, we sold it like halfway through the year.
Mm-hmm.
We'd done 5.5. We were on track to hit 5.5 million at 30%. We were hitting 30% EBITDA over month over month. And they ended up doing 6.2 that year.
Wow.
It was pretty cool. Yeah. It was fun.
Yeah. The interesting, when I was on sort of your side of the table, I always loved talking about, purpose, vision, core values, what's important to you. And there's a story I always love to tell, had a guy reach out. He says, Greg, I've got 2 employees. I'm in the middle of nowhere, Iowa. And it's been 3 years since I've been able to even interview somebody.
Yeah.
And I said, okay, how small? Do you have a stoplight? And he goes, we have one.
Yeah.
I said, gotcha. And I said, I'll bet you have a lot of churches. He goes, yep, we do. And I said, let me ask you a question. What's your favorite Bible verse? Tells me his favorite Bible verse. And I'm like, tell me the meaning behind why. He's crying. He's telling me the story. And I said, why don't you use that as your hiring ad? He goes, what? And I'm like, you don't have core values. You don't have a vision, but you know who you are as a human being because you just shared it with me. Seriously, use that Bible verse as your hiring ad. 3 people apply within 2 days.
Yeah.
And I'm like, so as a business owner, you have to tap in. When you're starting, it's not just, I always tell people you should have your core values on your sleeve. You're not going to put money on there, right? World-class service or whatever it is. But you Dan Antonelli always talks about building a brand, right? Your brand is your vision. Your brand is, what is my brand making me special? Yes, the logo is incredible and all of that, but core values go along with that. A vision of where we're headed. I tell guys, hey, it's you and one other guy. Why don't you have an org chart for 6 more positions? And they're like, what do you mean? And I'm like, well, if I'm interviewing, hiring somebody, I have to show them a better future. And what does that better future look like? If you're out there digging ditches for me tomorrow, a year and a half from now, my goal is to have you out in a truck by yourself. Somebody else is digging the ditch for you, and I'm moving you up. So when we become 10 employees, you now have an opportunity to become a general manager or a field supervisor that, how does a small shop hire somebody versus a big shop? You can provide a faster path potentially if you're a driven business owner who is organized and has things, some of the basic foundational stuff set. Which is core values, which is a vision of where you're going.
Which is what everybody, I didn't know what that stuff was. I had no idea. I remember Googling core values, how do I write core values? What? Thankfully, now we got ChatGPT. Hey man, you know me pretty well. Let's make up some core values. I could help you out quite a bit, but those things I didn't know. I didn't know there was a world where plumbing businesses made millions of dollars. I didn't know that existed.
Yeah.
I didn't know that there were private equity firms buying up companies.
Yeah, there's nobody that started the business in the 90s or early 2000 that said, I'm building a plumbing business to go sell for $100 million. I can assure you of that.
Yeah. So it's I don't know, it's a whole new world, but I find it really fascinating, the whole thing. I think it's cool.
Yeah, you see a lot of young guys that sell their business and they're just jumping right into another trade. Right, I sell plumbing, HVAC, electrical. I'm jumping into roofing, or I'm jumping into pest, or restoration or something along that line. You see
Yep.
a lot of that, like, made a fortune. This is what I want to do next.
Yeah.
Or boom, sold my business on a Friday. Monday, I'm out doing, restoration work.
Yep. Yep. That was me. Sold it. Then 2 days later, I was bored.
Yeah.
Said, let's start something else. How many of the, like when you're selling companies, how many of the buyers stay on with the PE firm that's buying them? And how long is that typically?
So a typical deal, they're going to want you for a year, most typically, right? They might say goodbye to you after 6 months or something like that. It's all in the deal structure. It's all what you want. How, sometimes I've had 50-year-olds say, I'm burnt out, I'm done. I just want to sell the business and walk away. Then they meet the right buyer, they get re-energized, they decide to roll some equity, and they decide to stay on and continue the journey, right? They just needed to be reinvigorated. Every deal is different. What every person wants to do next is different.
Yeah.
I will tell you, do not sell your business if you don't know what you're going to do next.
I can agree with you.
Yeah.
Because I didn't know. I had no idea.
Yeah.
I sold my business just because I wanted to get the experience. I wanted to know what that was like. And I learned a lot during the process.
Right. Now, if it's a sum of money that, like, heck, this sets my kids up for life and all that, I don't quite know what I can do next, but I've got a winning lottery ticket and I can't, that I get.
I would say at least have a plan of what you're going to do with that money, or who you're going to hire to help you figure out what to do with that money. At least go that far.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I end up having those conversations, right? Somebody call up, it's a big enough business. Do you have an estate planner? Do you have a tax planner?
Yeah.
Do you have your will in place? Have you built a trust for the kids? Have you thought about tax preparation to try and save yourself money? These are conversations that I'll have with every single person that I talk to. You asked the question, might have been the first, what can we do to prepare to sell?
Yeah.
There we go. That's a really important is, do I have a real good asset manager?
Yeah.
Do I have somebody that can help manage my funds to guarantee me X amount of income? Have I thought, do I have my will in place? Is that my family set? Have I built a trust? These are things that majority of people that call me, I don't have a will. Nope, I don't have that. Nope, I've never thought of that. Well, you're about to sell your business for $20 million. You probably need to prepare all of this stuff over the next month, 2 months. Let's get moving on that high priority.
Yeah. How many of them are C Corps versus LLCs?
So this is not my area of strength because the laws have changed, right?
Yeah.
Something took place recently where
Big beautiful bill,
with the S Corp. I don't want to say the wrong thing. So I don't know what percentage is S versus C at all. There's benefits to one versus the other.
Yeah.
Again, I'm not
They
going to
raised
answer it
the
just
limit
because I don't know. Yeah, there's like
that you can take non-taxed. It went from, I believe, 10 to 15.
Something like that. Yeah.
So as long as it was a C Corp the last 5 years and you're an original founding member, you can, at the time of a sale, you can collect 15 million tax-free, which is pretty freaking awesome.
Yeah.
Like if you can sell for 15 and keep 15.
Yeah. It's a big difference between 27.5%
Yeah.
tax coming right off the top.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Sell for 15, keep 10.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the other thing I see, just my mind's kind of going everywhere, cash-based versus accrual-based accounting. Everybody should be accrual-based accounting, right?
Why is that?
Maintenance agreements. It's just how you're looking at your cash flow. You just don't want the ebbs and flows.
Yep.
If you're hiring a basic local accountant, you're $1 million business, you're okay with that. As you get towards that 4, 5, 6 million, you want to be accrual-based. It just evens out the money. It's how, and again, when you work with your contractors, well, I just sold 10 maintenance agreements. I put that cash immediately on my balance sheet.
Yep.
Well, you haven't done the work on them as of yet.
Yeah.
Right. So that loss is coming when you go out. It's when are we attributing money coming in versus work being done?
Yeah.
Accrual based just evens all of that stuff out.
And so when you're doing your maintenance agreements, you would want to count those as deferred revenue.
Yes.
So you get money in, goes on the balance sheet, just like you said, versus money in on the top line.
Yep.
And then you lose it later.
Yes.
Yeah. Interesting. Is that going to, like when you, I had a slight headache of that when I was selling my business because we didn't do that.
Yeah, and depending on the size of the business, we'll do it for you.
Hmm.
Like if you're ready to sell and you're all cash based, it's just a little extra work for us. We can get that done.
Hmm.
But a big business, you're going to need a proper, CFO to come in and work with your business for a period of time to get that prepared. And then on the commercial side, if you're not doing WIP, work in progress,
Hmm.
it's years of work to go back and do that. And we're not going to do that. So you need a real professional on the commercial side to
Gotcha.
do the work in progress, because you could bring in, $500,000 and then do the work, and your next month you're minus 350.
Yeah.
We need to even all of that stuff out,
Yep.
and it takes a long time to do that.
Yeah. Interesting. Any other good nuggets?
As they pop in my head, I promise I will continue to spew them out. But accrual based is definitely something where I see almost all businesses on cash based, and they don't eventually move over, and they really should.
Gotcha. Where do you see all this ending with, like, how does it ever go away with private equity? Are they eventually going to buy everything up? And
Businesses starting every day, so
yeah,
they'll eventually sell. It's, your 5-year non-compete, non-solicit ends. You can open your HVAC, plumbing, and electric. I don't know when you sold, you sold in Alaska. Can you open in Florida? Certainly would be something that we would negotiate and be like, hey, you're buying in Alaska. He's moving to Florida and wants to open one.
yep,
It might limit our buyers to somebody that isn't necessarily here. They might be predominantly Midwest to West that wants to expand to Alaska, say, and they'll be like, no problem, right?
Yeah.
Or we might have a buyer, we might have somebody that's selling in Florida who's like, I now want to move to Colorado, and they're like, we don't have any businesses, no problem. They'll do a carve out of an area or state that they'll give you that you can open a business. But there's so many businesses starting and growing. I don't think there's an ending cycle, right? Do multiples ever fall off a cliff? If I had a crystal ball, I wouldn't be sitting here, brother. But I don't see it slowing down anytime soon. And if anything, with somebody going public, I just see it speeding up over the next 2 to 3 years.
Uh-huh.
Right. And then
Yeah.
it depends, on what is it, the 15th, 25 basis points, 50 basis points. It's going to help
Yeah.
sellers
Yeah.
at this point in time, because, I don't know if most of your listeners, I'm not an expert on this either, but somebody buys your business for 10 million, they're going to take 5 million of debt and use 5 million of cash. Well, if the debt's cheaper with a 50 basis point slash,
Yeah.
makes them, they don't mind paying a little more, not that they want to, but they could pay a little bit more, or it will make them more aggressive in a low interest rate market.
Yep. Yeah.
So it helps everybody.
So, and you said something about founder of SF&P saying that in the next couple of years, it's going to be the gold rush.
Just a guess. Yep.
Yeah. What, like, is that for those reasons?
Yeah. If somebody goes public,
Mm-hmm.
it will, you're talking 20x. And then if there's success and it just makes the multiples even higher, then somebody else behind them might go public. It'll just help push multiples higher.
Gotcha.
Back to probably 2000, let's call it 19, 20, 21, where we might have seen 13, 14, 15x for some businesses that now are getting 11, 12, 13. So a couple of turns, I would say.
Yeah.
That we could again see an improvement where somebody getting 9x today might get 10.5, 11x once somebody goes public.
Gotcha. So we see these, like, some of these private equity firms are going down, or some of these businesses they're buying are going belly up. Why is that?
So like an Air Pros,
Yeah.
that
Sure.
kind of, so I don't have an exact understanding, right? So I'll give sort of a layman's from my understanding. They didn't do a good enough job of making it one complete business.
Mhm.
So let's just say they had 8 businesses. It still almost acted like 8 standalone businesses.
Mhm.
So instead of on the back end managing all of everything through same pricing, same buying structure, same everything, it sounds like, from what I believe, that really wasn't done properly from a back end. They ended up selling off all the parts. Now, there's more that goes into it with the types of loans they had and how cash flow dropped off and the loans fell off a cliff, and it's a whole different conversation that way, way above my pay grade
Yeah.
or understanding level of what they did that over-levered themselves. So it kind of goes to the basic math of if I buy a business for $10 million
Yep.
and I fund $5 million in debt and $5 million in cash,
Mm-hmm.
we're essentially stripping all the cash flow from the business to pay down the debt,
Yeah.
right? So my guess is, I don't know if it's 12 or 15% interest, but that's what they're going to be paying on debt.
Oh, dang.
It's got to be somewhere around that, right? Because if wherever prime is or whatever, it's got to be 7.5 or something like that. They've
Mhm.
got to be 4 ticks, at least 3, 4, 5 ticks higher than that to borrow.
Mm-hmm.
So we go buy 7 businesses. We've got to strip all that cash to pay down debt because private equity doesn't make their money till they go sell the platform.
Right.
That's their big exit.
Right.
So I think where AirPros failed is the lack of cohesiveness through the back end. So when you get reached out to by somebody that says, oh, we want you on our platform, not going to name names, whether it's, whatever, whether it's roofing or garage doors or HVAC, the challenge is we've got, I don't know, 20 businesses, 10 businesses. Man, if they're not run identically and you don't have one system in the back end supercharging all of it as one unit, how do you sell off all those parts successfully?
Yeah.
You don't.
Right.
It's not going to work. And there's plenty of people that jumped into these situations, and we could chat at dinner, not doing it on camera, but that these things didn't work. And they're not going to work because you have, if you got 10, you probably have 3 real or 4 real winners. You probably got 2 or 3 losers. And then there's the middling portion of them. You're not going to get the multiple that you've promised everybody. It's not going to work unless it's cohesively one unit. And it's just, you need one figurehead.
Yeah.
Right?
And if you get that to one unit, who's buying that at that point? Other equity?
Well, private equity will buy it.
Yeah.
Right? So if I go purchase 4 businesses
Mm-hmm.
and I create an org chart on those 4 businesses.
Mm-hmm.
So even though you're an owner, you've now given up, let's call it 51% for conversation. You still own 49,
Mm-hmm.
but I need an org chart for all of these businesses. So who's where within an org chart? Are we all buying from the same? Are commissions the same? Am I paying everybody the same? If everything's identical,
Mm-hmm.
you could sell that. Happens. We did a deal this year where we sold 2 businesses that were in the same market, at the same time as one package, close enough. And we've done it before and we'll do it again.
Were they tied together beforehand, or did you guys say, hey, we got you and we got you?
They were sort of tied together
Gotcha.
beforehand a little bit. And it happens. We've got somebody that's under LOI looking the same way. So it happens and it works. I had a group in New Jersey approach 8 different business owners, all the same name. So somebody 15 years ago had sold, this region, that region, this region. They all got together and said, we do have some interest potentially. And I'm like, this is never going to work. Why? What operating system? 3 were on House Call Pro, 5 were on Service Titan. Every business is just, while it's the same name, they were completely different run businesses. I'm like, it's going to take you guys 5 years. So you all own a business. Which one of you is in charge? Who's going to be running?
Yeah.
And they're like, well, nobody's going to agree to that. And I'm like, well, then it's never going to work.
How much does operating system matter when you go to sell?
It's helpful to be on Service Titan.
Yeah.
It's helpful. One of the best kept secrets, right? You ran a business on Service Titan. What are you paying for your tax?
Per tech?
Per tech.
Oh gosh.
Couple $100 plus.
I think it was like $350.
Right.
Yeah.
Private equity is probably paying $92, $93 a guy.
Yeah.
So they're going to save right off the top. We go buy a business with 100 guys. I'm not doing the math in my head.
Yep.
But you could do somebody out there will grab a calculator,
Yep.
drop $200 per head to the bottom line.
Yep.
That is a lot of money being saved initially.
Yeah. Interesting.
Their buying power, they're going to save 15% the day that they buy you, right? And business owners don't seem to understand that.
Yeah.
That not only do they have the firepower to grow and scale, but their buying power will immediately change your balance sheet. And then what comes off your balance sheet, right? The cost of insurance, HR, all of the stuff that they're able to save you a fortune on.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not their secret sauce. It is their sauce, right?
Just because they're buying in bulk.
Right.
Yep. How about inventory? do you see like how many guys out there are actually tracking inventory properly?
If you didn't have the word, I was going to have the word.
Okay.
It's a mess, right?
Yeah.
And the challenge is it's the people that you're dealing with, the sophistication
Yeah.
to be able to handle, how do we manage inventory on the truck? What I used to say to people is I would go to Home Depot. I would tap somebody on the shoulder that you watch doing inventory there and say, do you have a Sunday free? Can you come barcode all of our stuff and teach us how to put all of our SKUs properly in a system? I'll pay you whatever per hour to do it on an off day. Just teach me how to do some form of management of how to manage my truck and manage my inventory. We can get into sort of just in time versus other deliveries and what works and what doesn't work. But from a basic system, in your world, most guys are going to be completely clueless, right? A $3 million business and under is not going to be, they're losing money because of inefficiencies within their business.
Oh, yeah.
It's probably 90-something% of where their profit goes is just inventory issues, inefficiencies on the job. We're supposed to be doing a replacement in 6 hours and it's taken 8.5.
Yep.
Right? We don't have the right tools and we got to run to Home Depot during the middle of a job to go get something done. It destroys your profit margins.
I remember the first time I looked at material efficiency, just like what did I spend on materials on my P&L and what did Service Titan say I sold? It was almost double. I bought almost double what I sold or what Service Titan said I sold.
Right.
And I was like, interesting. And then trying to figure out why that is.
So what do you teach? What do you teach to the 1 to 2 million guy about how to do that properly?
So for us, like we kept our inventory to a minimum for that reason. It was like basically just on the trucks. We would use the supply house as our inventory.
Right.
And then rather than, we wouldn't have stuff at the shop. And then you start getting into, well, now they're wasting time at the supply house, blah, blah, blah. So we would make good relationships with the people at the supply house and we would call our orders in. So we could roll up to the door. They got it ready. We pick it up. We preferred to use, in Alaska, it was Keller Supply because they would scan their stuff.
Right.
And so they would very rarely pull the wrong part.
Right.
And so we would pay them more and we would pass that cost on to our customers, but it was well worth it because we would make it up in efficiency.
Yeah.
Hands down.
Yep.
And then we didn't really track what was on the trucks. We never went out and counted. I mean, it just wasn't worth it at that point.
Right.
So we got back to where we were just working on material efficiency. You can get more efficient on material efficiency if you just have a commission structure that incentivizes them to sell materials. They'll sell a lot more materials if they're incentivized.
Every single employee is incentivized.
Yes.
Critically important in every business.
Yes. Very important.
Yep.
I agree. And it has to align with what you want. That was so in the beginning of my business, we would try to incentivize selling time or selling memberships or getting 5-star reviews. The second we scrapped all that and I said, we're going to incentivize you based on revenue that you produce and you have to have this level of customer satisfaction. If we can't produce revenue at the sake of customer satisfaction and we can't produce customer satisfaction at the sake of revenue, we got to do both at the same time. And so the second we did that, it was like a whole new world for our business. As soon as the techs caught on how they can kind of game the system that we created for them in their favor, which actually ended up being in our favor, it just, within a year, it was an extra $1 million in revenue.
Wow.
Just from commission, basically. Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
So I totally agree.
Yeah. It's really, really important. What'll be interesting is, when somebody goes public, what stops, I'm going to use Apex, right?
Yeah.
What stops an Apex from being like, we're putting massive Amazon-like buildings around all of our areas. Now you're not buying from Home Depot.
Yeah.
Now you're buying from however they white label, whatever, parts supply comes. It'll be, the world will change dramatically in the next 2 to 3 years for sure, right?
Do you think they'll go from, okay, we own the business, now we're buying the suppliers?
I would assume so.
Yeah. Or the distributors, I guess, is where you would start. Yeah.
Of course, distribution.
And then go buy the suppliers.
Of course.
And then go buy the manufacturing.
Yep.
Yeah.
It would all seem to make sense.
It does.
To me.
Yeah.
As a way of going forward. And then, with drones, just all of a sudden parts are dropped off at the job or Uber for that fact.
Yeah.
Right. So instead of your guy leaving the job, you just Uber a part in.
I mean, we do that now, not through Uber, but through whatever the Instacart or
Yeah,
whatever.
exactly.
Yeah.
Right. So
Yeah.
there's ways to get and add efficiencies, and it's changing every day, but the world will continue to shift. And we haven't talked about AI. I don't want to get into AI, but that's another 2 hours. We could do that post dinner.
Yeah.
We could do 2 hours on AI, but it's dramatically changing. And the mistake a smaller business owner can get caught up in is trying to chase AI at $1 million or $2 million at this point, because if you're investing in your infrastructure and you're, all of a sudden you're adding, I'm not going to say names, right? But you add this tech play into your business.
Yep.
You know how hard it is to unwind this stuff when you've thrown it into service type?
Yeah.
So making sure you're making the right decisions into, if I'm investing in this tech, will it be around? Is it something that will completely support my business for the next 3, 4, 5 years and have it be an infrastructure portion like a chirp, right?
Yep.
Something like that. Shout out Ryan.
Yep.
Like that's a critical piece to have on the back end of your business versus, the voice answering stuff. It still feels early to me.
Yep.
And I know guys that are having great success with it.
Yep.
And then guys that are dying with it.
Yep.
It's you've got to be cautious about what you're investing in, what's critical in your business. That 1 to 2 million, it's so easy to outspend where you are
Oh yeah.
in your life, because all of a sudden it's, well, I'm doing a rebrand and I'm spending 30 grand. I've hired a marketing company and my cost per leads, and I have got no operational efficiency.
Yeah.
Right? Then all of a sudden it's, well, I want this manager and I'm going to add this tech and then I'm going to add podium and I'm going to add this. You can outspend yourself like that
In a second.
and it's a really easy trap
Yep.
to watch those smaller business owners fall into, and making the decisions of who the right vendors are at the right time, the right opportunity. It's hard to make, you're going to make mistakes.
Yeah. I'm always surprised. Like I went to Pantheon last year and been to a few other conferences since. And every time I go, you hear from the big guys, they're like, focus on the basics and like answer that phone.
Yep.
Know where that call is coming from.
Yep.
Answer that phone, book that job, get out to that house quickly.
Yep.
Work on your close rates, customer satisfaction, average tickets.
Get them booked. Hey, we need you out here now. I don't think I have anybody available. I have a 3 o'clock open and it could be 10 a.m. Ma'am, do me a favor. Let's get the 3 o'clock just so it doesn't get filled.
Yep.
Let me make a quick phone call out to the field.
Yep.
And we'll see if we can get somebody out there early, but you should lock in that 3 o'clock spot.
Oh, totally.
Right? Critically important. So having the process, but having somebody answer a phone, the biggest loss leader in a business, if I'm calling a plumbing business, I'm not letting it probably ring more than 3 times. If they have an answer on the 3rd ring, I'm hanging up and I'm on to the next.
Yep.
But what's the first thing they're going to look at? Google reviews.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
Now, AI, I don't know if you've seen a lot of the Facebook posts, that they pull from Reddit. It's the single number one. That's Yelp. That's people having conversations is where AI is pulling a ton of information from.
Yep.
So when we talk about marketing, the traditional, SEO and PPC and all that, where you're posting content, what you're doing from a culture standpoint, where you're actually posting it really matters.
Yep. It's almost getting harder for the small guy because he can't just hire a marketing agency now. He's really got to get in there and my favorite thing, my biggest lever that I've ever pulled is I figured out how to operate a camera, and I got on video and I started making educational content for my customers. Right. And we'd put that on Facebook and YouTube and boost it out in the community or answer a question in a Facebook group via video.
I tell people all the time.
And man,
I was on stage and I had to talk about marketing for 45 minutes and nowhere near my forte. And I'm like, if you live in Pensacola, Florida, and you haven't typed into Facebook, Pensacola, Florida, mom Facebook groups, you should be joining every single Facebook group in your area. You're not selling anything.
Nope.
Just you're helping solve problems. and then your reputation grows. Like there are great ways organically, but you should be, if there's 30 mommy and me's, you should be a member of 30 mommy and me's,
Yeah.
right? Every home and garden, whatever it is, you should be a member of a gazillion local Facebook groups
Yeah.
and posting videos. Just a warning, this is coming. You should be shutting this off or turning this on. It's a great time to think about. Reminder to change your filter, whatever short
Yep.
10-second videos to alert homeowners that they should be doing these things that they could do themselves that help them.
Yep.
And then you become authoritative. And as your brand grows and as you grow bigger and bigger, all of this stuff grows like crazy. You look at Derek Cormier, for example, and
Yeah.
what he's doing from a culture standpoint and what he's posting the content. There's such great opportunities.
I mean, Gary Vee's been saying it for years. Attention is the new currency.
Yes.
And from my experience, that's 100% accurate.
Yeah.
It's if I can go get attention, I can figure out how to make money off
Right.
attention. Yeah.
Instagram, TikTok,
Yep.
Reddit, Yelp, all Angie's, whatever. Different feelings about Angie's.
Yeah.
But you should be posting where you can, what you can
Yep.
as a professional I'm not trying to sell you anything. I'm here just to help advise.
Yeah.
Right?
I agree.
And it's of being of service. It's really what it comes down to.
Yeah. 100%. So if somebody wanted to get a hold of you to have you help them sell their business, what would they do?
So the easiest way, it's over there, my cell phone. So my cell phone number is 973-919-5509. It's always the easiest, 973-919-5509. Just shoot me a text. My email is Greg, Gregg, at sfpadvisors.com.
And how, like, if somebody wants to sell their business 3 years from now, should they be calling you now?
They should be calling me now.
Okay.
Yep. Doesn't mean you're hiring me now,
Mm-hmm.
but it's certainly worth us looking at your financials, giving you an evaluation. We're going to clearly see red flags. We're clearly going to give you things to work on.
Mm-hmm.
And then you go back to your coach and go get the help you need from there.
Nice.
Right.
And you guys do that for free?
Absolutely.
Awesome.
Every single person.
Cool.
Right? We're building long-term relationships.
Yeah.
And as I always say, I'll be on the phone with somebody for an hour and they'll be like, I can't believe you gave me an hour of your time. Why? And I'm like, did you love they're like, this was incredible. And I'm like, awesome. Then all I ever ask is if you have a friend that you run into that needs an evaluation or is even contemplating, just have them give me a buzz.
Yeah.
I'm open and available to everybody at all time because you never know the person that knows a person that knows a person. And if you're a good human being and of service, it's karma, baby.
Yep.
It will always come back in spades to you.
I agree.
Just be a good human being and be helpful.
100%.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for coming on today, Greg. I
Man,
really
thanks so
appreciate it.
much.
Yeah.
I appreciate you having me on.
Right on. See you later.